And then by the time you made it, it came out, you people in the band were already aware that this was going to be something. Well, you describe it as your best album yet. You were aware of that.
I think we knew it was the best album yet, and it had a sort of style to it that I think we're very proud of. But you never can anticipate whether people will buy a record or not. I mean, you can make the greatest record in the world, and for some reason the timing could be wrong, and it just won't happen. I'm sure the world is full of people who've made records that they still puzzle as to why they haven't sold.
It was recorded in Abbey Road Studios. Obviously, that's again if probably the best known studio, or one of the best known studios. Do you think that first, like technologically, is that something that was important? Did Abbey Road have some facilities apart from? We'll talk about the people who recorded there as well. But like technologically, was that a really good studio first and foremost?
It's a great, and it was a great studio then. And it's still a great studio now. But funnily enough, I don't think that most of the fans of Abbey Road, and there are a lot of them, would ever say that it was cutting-edge technology. What it tended to do was to have a depth of experience that ensured that everything was to the very, very highest standards. In terms of, I mean, at the time anyway, there wasn't that much studio technology around in the way that there is now in terms of gadgets that can be used. But it had just brilliant engineers and brilliant technicians who were capable of really almost inventing stuff from scratch rather than pulling it out of a cupboard.
But another thing that struck me about the studio Abbey Road, if so many successful bands who were not just successful commercially, but in terms of, you know, redefining music, going down rock history, all that sort of stuff, well, if so many were there, or the most famous ones were there, and then people were using same engineers, was there not a risk of starting to create a sort of Abbey Road sound?
I think funnily enough, that's true of a number of other studios, but not Abbey Road, because actually, if you talk about studio sounds, then there's perhaps some studios that particularly work within a certain genre. And I'm thinking now of the American studios, somewhere like Muscle Shoals, or some of the sort of...
so who are the acts there? Like
the sort of American...
R&B-ish?
Yeah, R&B bands, that sort of the Blues Brothers type of music, and in the same way as perhaps Detroit and the sort of Motown sound. Maybe you get a style like that. But Abbey Road, I mean, very important to understand that Abbey Road, unlike most other studios, was a much more general studio. I mean, you would have classical orchestras recording in one room, you'd have the Beatles in another, and you might have a comedy outfit recording in another. Unlike, say, Air Studios, or the original Air Studios, or Olympic, which were really designed for rock bands rather than anyone else.
Another album that I'd like to talk about is The Wall. Now, just for our audience, there was an album that came out in 1982. So it's
No.
No? I got it off your book, I think, 1982.
Really? You can't trust my book.
Don't trust the writers.
I'll tell you why I know that, because Another Brick in the Wall was a hit single in England for Christmas 1979. So the album actually came out at the very, very end of 1979.
So Another Brick in the Wall and the double album, The Wall, was another conceptual album. Now, what's particularly of interest to us, specifically me, Daniel from the crew, is that you moved from Abbey Road into 35 Britannia Row.
Well, we'd actually moved to Britannia Row one album earlier than that, because we'd recorded Animals at Britannia Row. I think, again, I was talking about the way that recordings, the system of recording had changed, and what everyone was beginning to realize was just how expensive it was to do these lockouts in a studio. So you could spend 6 or 9 months in a studio, and actually for the same money you could build your own. And that's exactly what we did. We built our own studio in Islington. And so we recorded Animals there, and so we started the recording for The Wall there as well. Although in the end, the album was finished in France initially, and then mixed in America. So it was it became a bit of a movable feast, particularly as towards the end, we were trying to get things finished quickly, and we were actually quite often utilising 2 studios at once in order to get the work done.
Now, again, you said it's in Islington, and well, Roger Waters lived locally in New North Road.
Roger lived around the corner, and I was living in Hampstead.
So not too far.
No, I was living in Camden Town at the time.
But again, not
No.
far away from the studios. And that area is known for Arsenal,
Yeah.
being big football fans. Now, you do mention that Roger Waters became a gunner, but are you? I just kind of couldn't get a sense.
I think I probably just about qualified, because although I'm not a football fanatic, I have 2 boys who are completely dedicated Arsenal supporters.
Okay, another thing for me, I just can't believe we're talking about this, but one of my favorite songs as a child, as I said, so before the 80s, was Another Brick in the Wall. And then I discovered that the kids who sang on the track, they're from a local school.
That's right, they're from Islington Green, because what happened was that the idea of using the kids on the track was a bit of an afterthought. And in fact, whether it was Roger or Ezrin or who, I can't remember now who, I think I get the credit right in the book, but whoever thought of it was actually recording in America at the time. So what happened was a call was made to Britannia Row, where Nick Griffiths, who was our engineer, resident engineer, was told to go and get local kids, because we wanted that slightly rougher sound to it. And Nick went out and found the school and some really helpful and good staff who were up for doing this, and brought the kids into the studio and recorded it all, and then sent the tapes back. And I mean, it was one of the it is about having, sometimes success is not only about the principles, but it's also about having very, very good people.
Gosh, I can't believe it. This is my neighborhood. You got the school, you got my building, and then Britannia Row. It takes about like a few hundred meters. My flat is just in the middle. Gosh, I'm part of history. It's really cool. Okay, and who's Pinky over there? We got another...
This is, let me introduce you. This is Pink. And
hello. Hiya.
Pink is actually a leftover from the Wall shows from 1980, 81. And he's looking a little bit battered now, because he is a character who sat on top of the wall, and every time the wall was knocked down, he was the first person to fall. So he's actually had a number of accidents in his stage career, but survived.
He's a wall casualty.
You could say that.
He's a wall casualty. Wow, a piece of history himself then. Right, and then, okay, well, where to from? I suppose one thing we should mention before we finish is the Pink Floyd reunion at Live 8. Mm-hmm. Was that a special moment? Don't say no.
Okay,
please say it's just really this time.
This time, it's a yes. Yeah, it was terrific. It was great fun, but it was much more than fun. It was about doing something for all the right reasons, about being able to transcend any differences, which is very important. You know, we don't have to make up and let bygones be bygones. Everyone's still allowed to hold their grudges if they want to, but it's an opportunity to, as I say, to transcend all of that and do something worthwhile for a very good cause. And I think we all just had a great time doing it as well.